મિત્રો મારી સાથે સીમા છે અને we gonna start the next very interesting episode of episode number 11. આમ જોઈએ ને તો I haven't prepared myself completely. I just prepared the 5 points, and I also told Seema that we're going to talk about these 5 points. We haven't prepared anything, no question or anything. We going to try to make it as organic as possible, because that way I can truly get into the real talk, rather than making it like fake or anything.
Question answer session.
Yes. So whenever I see Seema, then there is a one thing comes into my mind. Okay, so in Eli College ni Seema with the small hair, and still it is small hair. So think about it. So
no, I had 2 chotis. You forgot. I had 2 chotis.
You had 2 chotis too, but I seen all your photos with a little thing, little hair. But anyway, the thing is this.
No, like I had both short hair.
So yes, yeah. So the basically, so whenever you talk about things, you wanna have a journey of the person. Okay, so in that journey, we're gonna say that that young Seema who actually decided to become an engineer in an engineering college. Think about it, friends. If in our time, when girls decide to become engineer, it is something really and a courage, I would say, because most of the time આપણને ખબર હોય છે કે પુરુષ પ્રધાનની અંદર એન્જિનિયરો એટલે તો મોટા ભાગે મેન જ હોય, અથવા વુમન હોય તો they actually go into the branch where you just do the office work and stuff. So basically Seema, we're gonna talk about your 5 personalities. Okay, first personality is I wouldn't say it's a personality, it's a 5 part. I just came, it just came to my mind like a couple of days ago, that one Seema is an engineer who is young, who decided to work in a field as a woman. I have experience when we joined the GEB as a young engineer, and we had a lot of people working under us as old guys who actually been there for last 30 years, and they don't give a buzz. Right. Even to as a person, as a man engineer, they don't give a buzz. Think about it as a woman, young woman, and she actually had to deal with all these things, because normally પુરુષ પ્રધાન સોસાયટી કહેવાય ને આપણે, એની અંદર we normally don't.
પુરુષ પ્રધાન તો હજી પણ છે.
હજી છે પણ હજી yes 100%
even after 30 years.
Yeah, it is still there, and you be see that those are the things I want to take your perspective, because see, still we cannot get into the mind of the woman who is really successful right now. So that's the one young Seema we're going to talk about. The second Seema is we're going to talk about, she actually moved her family globally across the globe. So I can relate to in that sense, because I also did it multiple times to move across the globe from one part of the world to the another part of the world. So that is a one Seema who actually act as a very passionate mother, raising 2 young children and also supporting a husband, and we're going to talk about that. The third Seema we're going to talk about is a Seema who actually make really good, she's really good cook. It's not only the cook, but at the same time, she's actually writing about her experience, not in India, but in a foreign land, in a foreign language, and convincing other people to actually, is basically a marketing of the Indian culture and food. So that's the third Seema. We're going to talk about it. And there will be a fourth Seema. She is a very, I would say, avid photographer. Being myself into the media guy, I can understand that she got a really good sense of the photographic composition and when to take a photograph and rule of thirds. I mean, I watch it, rule of reflections and all these things. It's actually, she's coming out with but I can say that she can act as she can work as a professional photographer if she want to. So that's the fourth Seema. And the fifth Seema, who actually attach a philosophical quotes with each photograph. Sometimes it doesn't make sense to me because I'm coming from the Gujarati medium, but see, that is a philosopher Seema. So So now, I will give a 1 or 2 minute to her to, how she gonna elaborate into these 5 parts, and then we move from 1 to 5 parts. And one another thing I want to talk about, this is going to be a really interesting episode because I am thinking if it goes longer, then we probably do 2 parts, so, but we're going to continuously talk as an organic talk. So Seema, over to you. What do you want to say about this 5 personality? Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Listening to it, even I'm impressed that I look like a person, but like I say, na Seema ni koi seema nathi.
Ni koi seema nathi. That is correct. Yes.
So you never know what surprises Seema can spring up.
Okay, very good. Do you want to say anything like you're like take off 1 or 2 minutes about like so the thing is like very very simple things like very basic background 1 minute, very basic background like
No, I think the background. See, I'll tell you, Himmat. What happens is when you talk about these different kinds of personalities which you have interpreted.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad to say that you have been able to interpret all these 5 things.
Uh-huh.
Or maybe the personalities or the person that I look at. What I feel is each thing will have its basic somewhere. So
Mm-hmm.
the formative years are always going to come in the being. So let us talk.
Okay, all right,
like
no problem.
You rightly said, yeah. See,
Okay.
I'll tell you the very first example. Newly graduated, I should say, engineer out of the college. That's when we graduated. Thanks to that strike and all, instead of May, we graduated in December 88.
Okay.
And in January, I went to the Polytechnic, Adipur Polytechnic, and that's where I started my first job as assistant lecturer.
Mm-hmm.
And imagine, it was not to the Polytechnic students like coming from the 10th or the 12th grade. I was given the part-time section.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just a young graduate trying to teach the part-time students. Part-time students means they were working in IFCO. I don't know whether you're aware.
Yes, IFCO, I understand. Yeah, it's a farming.
IFCO was a company,
yes.
Yeah, and Kandla Port and all these people. And those students were in front of me who have had years of experience.
Yes.
And there I was
trying
to teach them electrical network.
Yes. Okay.
See, they know much more practical experience than me.
Okay.
So what happened is the very first lecture, as soon as I entered, obviously they were looking at me there with my 2 chotis and standing in front of them and trying to say, I'm your teacher. Okay. So you can imagine, this is what happens.
Yeah.
And then, I realized I need to tell them in better language. I said, see, you all have been working, you all have experiences, but in this classroom, I'm your teacher.
Yes, you have to respect me as a teacher. That's right.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So that is how it started off. And I must say, after that, there was no fun in the classroom. They all listened to me, and it went off very well. So my first job started this way. And I was quite happy about it, that I was able to, get across to them. Because otherwise it would have been very difficult, because see, like you rightly mentioned, when you go into the field for the first time, I'll tell you another example. I remember we had gone on a tour. We had that Ladirji, Apna Ali College bus.
Yes, I have. Yeah. Tour. We used
had
to go
gone,
there.
The electricals,
yes.
We had gone. I believe we were at the Gandhinagar power station.
Mm-hmm.
And we were standing on the boiler platform.
Mm-hmm.
And there we were wondering, where is the boiler?
And you were standing on the boiler. But
because I'll tell you what
because
happens.
we never had a practical knowledge.
Yes, I'll tell you what happens is, in our lab, we had a Kocharan boiler. Mm-hmm. Kocharan boiler means it was just straight like that way they had shown. It was still there. I don't know whether it's still there or not. But our impression was, this is the Kocharan boiler. And you go to that Gandhinagar power station, and then you see, then you're asking, where is the boiler? Yes. And they said, oh, you're standing on the boiler floor.
Yeah.
That's when it hit us, oh, okay, we are too far away.
Yes, too far away from the practical knowledge.
Practical
Yes.
knowledge.
So
Yeah.
those are, so I want to add to that one a little bit, like in a college, sometimes what happen is this, okay? So in our time, I mean, nobody has to take it as a negative, but what happened is whenever our professors itself didn't have any practical knowledge. And the another thing is this, when we go to the foreign university, like I used to go to take a lecture in San Jose State University, right? Sometime, external classes, everything. What they do is this, they actually bring the faculty's experts from outside, not as a permanent people, but as an expert who actually, like I was expert in the network at the time. So I teach the network once in a week, 1 hour, and then just go home. So they actually, the student get the practical knowledge. This is not happening in India. So what happened is, everything is from the book. We never
Totally
yes.
from the books.
So,
I agree.
so now,
I agree.
yes. So yes, we understand. Okay, but I think I heard, or I have an impression of you as you also work in a GEB in a field.
Yeah. I'm coming.
Yeah, I want to go there. I want to go there. Yes.
See, I'll tell you.
Yes.
Yeah. What happened was I joined this polytechnic. That was my first job. I didn't want to join GEB.
Okay.
Let's be clear. I didn't want to join GEB. I wanted to join some private company and get on. But since my parents were in Gandhidham, I decided, okay, chalo polytechnic. But what I did was, during the morning times, I went to the Kandla port to do voluntary training.
Okay.
So they have this marine unloader, and then they have the dry dock, where the ship comes in and they do the cleaning and all that stuff. So what I was doing is, when I started going to the dry dock, I was just trying to understand the networks. Trying to study the electrical networks, how things are, because we didn't know, like we just spoke, practical knowledge and the theoretical were two poles apart. So what I started was, in the morning, it was totally voluntary training. Morning, I used to go to this Kandla port. Evening, I was teaching at Polytechnic. And what this Polytechnic people did was, later on they asked me to join regular classes also. And I started off with the practicals, that is what they start off with as an assistant lecturer. They immediately don't give you. And that time, of course, the students were, the 10th class pass out, or the 12th class. And then it was only 89 days they were giving me.
Okay.
The ones they give you 90 days, that means they have to add, they have to give you all the benefits.
Yeah, they have to make you permanent. Yes. Yeah. So
then I decided, okay, I don't want to do 89 days, because there were senior professors there who were like assistant lecturers who were still waiting to be made permanent. And then fine, it was decided that, okay, I applied for GEB. So instead of 88, when I passed out, I applied in 89. I got it in 89. And similarly, in the interview, I was asked that, shall we send you to Ukai? From where are you coming? So I said, I'm coming from Gandhidham, Kutch. So we'll send you to Ukai. I said, okay, fine. Send me to Ukai, because that's a power plant. Okay. I went home. I said, probably I'll be going to Ukai. But when I got my appointment letter, I was told to join Bhuj O&M.
Wow, so, O&M is the dangerous game. Yeah. I was in O&M.
Yeah.
So
but luckily for me, what happened was, when I went to Bhuj to join O&M, that is operation and maintenance, the guys who don't know about it, I went there, and there the superintending engineer, he told me, where do you want to go? I said, where would you put me?
Yes.
I said, Gandhidham is where I was, like we were into the Kandlapur township. So I would be in Gopalpuri. I said, Gandhidham is fine. But he said, no, I'm not going to put you in the subdivision. I'll put you in the division office.
Division, yes. So you can have a table work, yes.
So I said, okay, fine. So he put me in the division office. That was Anjar division office. So I started going home from, traveling from Gopalpuri township to Anjar. So that's how my job started. And there, like you said, okay, I was given the job of desk. But you see, I had always been, too much of curiosity, straightforwardness. And I was given, the transmission and distribution losses folder.
Yes, I did the same thing.
So what happened was being the straight.
Yes, we count and we deal with all the engineers.
Everything was a mess. Let's say everything was a mess.
Yes,
I could not get anything.
How much was the loss? 8%, 9%? What was the loss?
No, that time it was very much.
Oh, very much. Okay.
Yeah, that time it was very much. Slowly now it's come down. And now they have also installed meters at the transformers. So what happens is you get the exact numbers. And there I started off questioning the Ds. Come on, give me the figures. They said, "Aap likh dena, kuch bhi likhna hai."
That's what I did.
But me, how can I write? You have to tell me. You have to tell me that only I'm going to write.
Yes.
So there it started off. And then I'll tell you, once I remember, additional C had visited the office. And I was the only girl there in that office and even in Bhuj O&M. And we had this meeting. And me being me, I just said that the T&D losses, what we are calculating is completely wrong.
Yeah, it's just a number game, nothing else. No practical way.
And then they tried to put into my head, it's not like this, it's not like that, this, that. Okay, they tried to convince me. So slowly by slowly, I started saying, okay, jo bhi hai, let's get on with it. And then, of course, I had another folder also, which was agricultural connections.
Yes, what they call it?
Technical sanctions, TS agricultural connections. Yeah. So I was given
because
that.
It was a separate branch, and I also worked in that one too. I think it's called REC. REC.
No, REC is different.
Yeah, I worked in REC.
We had two portfolios. Like we were 3 Js there. One worked for TMS.
Okay.
One worked for industrial connections and domestic connections. And one was like me, who was for rural connections, this agricultural connection. So we had to see the transformer load and calculate and send the estimate and all that stuff. So I did that. And then obviously there was this, what you call, this T&D losses. So I was there until I got married. So, and of course I attended the meetings in Bhuj. But let me tell you, touch wood or whatever it is, I have come across people who have been friendly, helpful, and trying to help me out at all angles. Maybe because, like I said, I just go and say that I don't follow, or what it is, you have to show me. And I've had the right answers, and people have helped me.
Yeah, but did you have any experience on going on to the field and having?
Yeah, I have that. I have that.
The thing is,
later.
Yes. Also, the way I understand is, being a girl, I think you probably, it is hard to get into those kind of positions, but once you are there, you will have an advantage too, because people will respect you. And particularly in Gujarat, I don't have experience of any other state or anything in India. But yeah, people respect you. And sometime what happened, like, let's see, for example, you as a GEB engineer, as a woman, you go and check somebody's connection, people will not misbehave. But instead of you, if some, male engineer go there, and they probably, they probably attack them or chase them off or, do those things. But that won't happen.
That is true. So I'll tell you now, what happened was, after I got married, I moved to Baroda head office.
Mm-hmm.
And Baroda head office, okay. And now, before we go to this GB, let me come back to the college.
Okay.
Now, see, like you rightly said, yes, not many girls came into engineering. And whoever came were always at Baroda. That is what I had heard, compared to having girls in Morbi.
Yeah. Because Morbi was like in our time, I think the one branch before at least in they started getting girls, I think from your
from our batch.
Our batch, I think. Before that, there was
no, we had a senior batch, no?
One senior batch, yeah. That was my batch. Actually, I flunked 1 year. So,
and that's the reason you came.
Yeah, so because they didn't have the girls' hostel, and they didn't had all these things, and Morbi was a kind of a too far of a town, for all these things. But yeah, I mean, tell me your experience about that thing.
So see, what I'll tell you is, again, now we go back to the formative years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like I come from a family, we are Maharashtrian Brahmins,
mm-hmm.
and earlier I was Seema Devdar.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm Ganoo.
Mm-hmm. Seema Ganoo, yes.
Yeah, earlier it was Devdar.
Mm-hmm.
And I come from a family. I have a younger brother and my parents. And then again, when I said I wanted to go for engineering, my parents said, okay, fine. If you want to do engineering, it's fine. Why talk about anybody else? Relatives in our family told my parents, rather my mother also, she's a girl.
Yes.
Why you want to send her for engineering? See,
Yes.
First of all, you're going to send her to a hostel.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, engineering. And after all, she's going to get married.
Mm-hmm.
So sukam mokalwanu.
Barabar. Sachi baat. That's what I want to know. Yes.
Yeah, keep her at home. So, but my mother, she wants to study. We are ready to let her study. What's your problem?
Yeah.
So see, what I want to tell you is coming from a family like that, where your parents are so supportive.
Yes, you had a full support of the family, and that makes a lot of sense. Actually, that is a part of creating a courage in you too. Because sometimes what happens, you have to constantly fight with the family at the same time, fight with the society, and all this.
Everybody.
Very difficult. We completely understand, and that's where I wanted to talk about the young Seema, because when you decided to go to engineering, you already was aware of the challenges coming ahead, right? Or maybe, see, the thing is this, maybe you could have stayed in that polytechnic as a lecturer and had a peaceful and very comfortable, comfort zone, and you don't want to go out. But what you did? Because of your adventurous nature, you went out and you gone to the field. Because the same way I into the division, and then I had to do a lot of complain to go to the field, because we just wanted to go to the field rather than they gave me the desk job and I did the TMD loss and everything. So yeah, you're right. So that's a young
that's what I say, the formative years.
Yes.
See, this is where the formative years, and again the girls and the boy differences, we never had it at home. Mm-hmm. Now when I look at people, or now when I talk to people, I realize that 3 decades ago, now when I think, okay, we passed out in 88, now this is
3 decades
2022.
Yes.
That time I was all about equality.
One another thing, why? You know why? Because you studied in a convent, and convent is a co-education. When did you start the co-education?
let me tell you, it is not like that way. It is equality. I'll tell you, it comes from home. My father, my mother, both were working.
Yes.
I have seen my father cooking for us.
Oh, okay.
I have seen my father doing all the work at home.
Yes.
And I've seen my mother also doing all the work at home.
And that is also 30 years ago.
Yes. So what happens is, and another thing, I was a girl, I had a brother. Both of us were treated at par.
Mm-hmm.
Not like that way. Because I had seen in families that, yes, he's a brother. So I'll tell you a very nice example. See, when we sit down to have lunch or dinner, right? If I have taken the plates, if I have set the table, it's my brother's job to clean up the
That's right. That's actually, but see, when the family is in that way, but when you come out and you see inequality, right? They won't show you, but you can see in their talking, their behavior and everything, and still it is going on over there.
Now let's come back to college. Nobody has spoken. I was expecting, people whom you spoke would speak about college time, but nobody spoke.
Yes, go ahead.
Now I'll tell you, see, in college, what happened, we used to have this no mood strike.
No mood strike, yes.
Yeah. No mood strike. So first of all, see, coming from convent educated, like you say, we are more disciplined.
Yes.
So no mood strike at Lesu. What do you mean by that? But okay, fine, no mood strike. We started learning about it. One day what happened, we were 2 of us, Ruchi and myself. We said, today we don't have mood. So we told the boys that let's have no mood strike, because every time we listen to you, why don't you listen to us?
Yeah.
But what happened, they attended the class. And it was only Ruchi and me who were not in the class.
Against your will. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So then we told them, next time you do no mood strike, we'll see to it that we'll be
there
attending the class.
Yes.
After that, we never had any problems.
Yeah, that's right. Tit for tat. That's right.
Yeah, you can check with our batchmates.
Yeah. Okay.
I remember we were 42 in a class. Only Ruchi and myself were girls. Baki to all were 40 boys. And we definitely know that this is one example. And gender equality, yes. So with me, what has happened is because I had seen equality at home, then it comes out. And then we stayed in a, what you call, cosmopolitan
metro city.
Township. Yeah.
Yeah, metro. Yeah, means
No,
like
not metro.
the whole kind of
in the township. We were in the township, like Kandlapur township. So what happens is everybody played together.
Yes.
These days people talk about big management, cultural management and multicultural environment. We grew up in that.
He was already there. People coming from the Tamil Nadu, people come from the UP and all these things. So you probably know multiple languages too, or maybe...
No, I don't know. See, language was never my cup of tea, though I did try to do. We speak Marathi at home.
Yeah.
And Gujarati, okay, not thodu avde che, but when you... See, and there's one more thing. When I want to speak my mind, I cannot be talking in the language where I'm not comfortable.
Yes, I understand.
And what happens is if you know, I know Gujarati, you will start with your Desi Gujarati and then I'm lost. So I can't allow that.
That's why this one started in English. We don't have to explain. Everybody knows. Okay, everybody knows in our friend circle that you actually can speak, you understand. But when we talk Desi Gujarati, means there are sometimes people from the Charotar and they probably won't understand what we're talking about. But most of the time. Yeah, so that's okay. We don't have to explain that. This is the
dialects. The dialects are so different, and to understand it's difficult. But I'll tell you, my daughter, she can speak 8 languages.
Yeah.
She learned Gujarati by herself. She learned Hindi by herself. Hindi, Gujarati, Marathi, English. Then, of course, French and Swedish, Finnish.
Yeah, so, there's a new generation.
And Mandarin.
Brains are different. Their brains are completely different. You know the brain cells. That every generation they increase.
Every generation.
Then I heard somewhere the number of neurons in our brain is exactly same as number of stars in a galaxy.
Yeah, must be.
10
and like we say we underestimate the children. We say they cannot understand, they cannot do it, but the children are way ahead of us.
Yeah.
They can do a lot.
Yes.
Okay, so now we come back to this gender equality thing. Now I can speak anything and everything with my father. I could speak about anything and everything. In fact, he was the one who taught me to play cricket with the cock ball.
Mm-hmm.
I used to play cricket with him. Mm-hmm. And he taught me, okay, this is how you do it. So, growing up in that atmosphere, you have a different kind of perspective about people. And what happens is, you having grown up, you don't expect that other families will be different. See, now as you are growing up, you see around and then you realize, it's not the same.
Yes. Some people are coming from really, really like people. So think about like people like me. I'm a kind of like, it's like a kind of middle, but I know people whose fathers, they actually doing 100% farming and they come from there. They actually go back. I mean, I don't want to give the name right now, but they go back to their village and they do the farming, support their family, and they come back in a college and they still distinction. I know.
Absolutely. Like no, they are intelligent and they're clever. And see, I'll tell you, language, we say language is never a barrier.
Yes, language has nothing to do with
communication. Language is never a barrier. See, I'll tell you, my mother had studied Gujarati in school. My father had come from a Marathi medium. Now since my father was in the Air Force, so what happened was I was born in Baroda. Mm-hmm. And then we have moved in Tamram, Pune, Jamnagar.
Okay.
And then we came to Gandhidham. So
that's where the Air Force base is. That's why.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then they moved to Kandla Port. So what happens is, we started off, they wanted to keep English as the common language. So that what happened is wherever we moved, we won't have any difficulties. And that's how it started off with the English medium. So, and then in Gandhidham, I was in a co-ed school. But 9th, 10th, I did it in Pune. I was in a girls' school. 11th, 12th, I was in the Baroda. I did it in the girls' school. And then we come to engineering, where everybody is a boys, except for very few girls.
Very few.
But it didn't matter to me.
In a small town.
Yeah, in a small town.
Narrow mind mentality. Think about it. We always wanted to tease girls. But like, okay, but we as a boys had a different mentality at that time. And right now is a different mentality. You know, it matures over time, but still there are a lot of parents, they still don't understand the mentality of their children. So what they do is they still, like, rather than giving them a real challenge, they actually give them a helping hand. They're making sure that, you know, they have their own nest and everything. I wouldn't do that. You know, I would throw my kids into the wild and let them do whatever they want and let them come out their true personality. Right now, a lot of Indian parents, particularly Gujaratis, they are overprotective about their children. You know.
Yeah, I can't understand even the food thing. Acha beta tane aa nathi gamtu, hu aa biju shaak banavi do. Why?
That's it. They how that guy or that boy or girl go and do something different to change the world, it will never happen, because they will be on that little cocoon where they feel protected. And
even the helicopter parents.
Helicopter. Yeah. So now that I think we talk enough about you know, getting into the engineering and young Seema and all these
so
things.
now we get back to our GB.
Yeah.
And I went into head office. I went into head office.
Yeah.
And I worked with I was directly working as an assistant to the chief engineer. I was in planning and projects department. Then I was in the engineering department. You know, the Gandhinagar 5 unit was going on that time, 210 megawatt. Vanagbori
coal thing. Yeah, okay.
Vanagbori unit 7 was going on, the extension. And I was into that grounding, the
planning thing.
Not planning, engineering side of it. And I drew the drawing sheets and all that. So everywhere you can see SPG, my signature would be there on those drawing sheets. And then, of course, I was moved into the monitoring section. We had planning, monitoring, and inspection section. And then they wanted me to come into the monitoring cell. And then I was into the monitoring cell. Then, of course, we were looking with that PERT and CPM. See, I'm talking of that time. And we would be plotting it on the drawing sheet. Now, of course, you have everything on the
computers and software. Yes.
Yeah, the softwares and everything is there. But that time used to mark and then attend the meetings and all that. I was into that. I worked with the executive engineer and also with who was assisting the member technical. So I was directly in touch with the member technical also. And because of all these things, what happened was, like you said, those big old people and the young people. And I was the ekdam young beach, just young, who had recently got married, moved to Baroda. But I was quite quick to pick up things.
Competent.
Yeah, you can say, yeah, competent, yes.
Yeah.
And then I learned very fast. And then I was ready to go and talk to anybody. See, what happens is there is that fear about, he's the chief engineer or he's the member technical. What can we go and say? And then there is an additional C. What happens? You go and say, but for me, like, okay, I have to get the information. So whether he's member technical or whether he's chief engineer or additional it hardly matters.
Maybe chief minister, who cares?
But I have to get the information and I know how to get it. See, this is what I learned being there. And like you said, you know, ego is a very big thing. Yeah. It is a big thing everywhere, at home, outside, everywhere. Man's ego, woman's ego, everybody has a big ego.
Woman's ego is less. See, that's the thing I always wanted to talk about. So many times, you know, people talk about the caste and people talk about men and women. I really hate those things. And I learned the hard way because of my life struggle, that really what matters is what courage you have. And like if you're talking to chief engineer, he's a human, man. I mean, if I need to.
No, I'll tell you a good example. What happened was, while I was working with Member Technical, the generation department was giving some reports. So, at that time, the computers were new and they would print out big things. And then there was a small
matrix printers.
And every morning, you don't need all that. The Member Technical doesn't need all that, because they also have a proper sheet which contain all the information, like comprehensive, you can say.
In the front, and then,
So you don't need all that from all that extra data. So what happened was, but who will go and tell the Member Technical that we do, you don't need, all this is not needed, it is just double work.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, fine, I'll go and talk to him. And then I had a talk with him. And he asked me, Seema, are you sure? I said, sir, you tell me all this information is there. And we had a good discussion that this is what you need. He said, okay, can you tell me all those factors like plant load factors and units generated and what is the status today, everything. So from that report, I gave him all the information. And I said, sir, do you need anything else? He said, no. So I said, shall I ask them not to send you all these papers?
Yeah.
He said, yeah, that's fine.
Waste of time.
Yeah. So I went and told that additional C, and he was so happy. He said, oh, we were wanting to do that, but it was good you did it. You can edit this, or you can keep it.
You created a efficiency in the process, but in that process, somebody has to. Okay. But that's the actually British mentality, where you don't open up. Here is a different in the Western world. Here.
No, but like I said, no. See, Himmat, over here, like I said, Western world, Eastern world. I was in GB.
Yeah, GB is different.
I was in GB. The mentality was the same, but I took it in a different way.
Yes, makes sense.
And the same thing. I'll tell you. College also, we have this habit of calling bhai and ben, because you have come from that. Yeah, forget about it. Prashant, that is my husband. He also calls bhai and ben. He has also come. Now let me also tell you, he's come from Gujarati medium. Until 12th, he was in Gujarati medium.
Yeah.
And then he's done his engineering from MS University.
Yeah.
He's also an electrical engineer. Both of us have studied the same.
Okay, so so I understand. So now it gave me a little bit of perspective, okay? So now we're going to move to the Seema, who actually a family. Now, both of are you on the same batch? Or your 2 years is 2 years different, right?
2 years.
Okay. Okay. I was trying to go into somewhere else. Okay, so that's fine.
No. We see. I'll tell you. Ours was a very much arranged marriage.
No, that's fine.
But people don't believe that. People say, I have had these questions all the time, and especially as we moved in expat crowds, they said, Indians, you all are forced to have arranged marriages. I said, it is not forced marriages. It is like, the families, they meet each other. And then they asked me, is it like you can refuse? I said, of course you can refuse.
Yeah, I mean, of course.
Nothing is there. So then, one gave me I think she was a Dutch lady who gave me a very good example. She said, oh, it's like the blind dates.
It's not a blind date.
Yeah, it's very much like the blind dates. But what happens is how we project to the outside world.
They would never, let me tell you one thing, Seema, they would never understand the way our culture is like S. Jaishankar said to the last meeting to the young Americans, say, in order to work with India, you have to understand India. Arranged marriage is this. We can reject, but at the same time, you cannot have there will be no arranged marriage if one of the parents is into jail or something. So we actually look at the family background. How is that?
And then I told them very easy thing.
Yeah.
We don't marry the person, we marry the family.
Yes. That's exactly the thing. Yes, I didn't have that
we
word,
don't
but
marry the
we
person.
marry the family. We marry the culture. That's right.
Yeah, we don't marry the person, we marry the family. And what happens is,
that's exactly right.
then the second thing what came up when we were discussing were, I said, then why there are so, see, you all marry, it's the love marriage, right? Fine.
Mm-hmm.
And then why are there so many divorces then?
Mm-hmm.
If you all have decided on your own, why are there so many divorces? We don't have many divorces. See, now again, there are two things playing in our marriage. See, what happens is the families are attached. So there is a pressure to keep the marriage going.
Once it become one family, you cannot separate the family. So we have no choice.
No. And what happens is sometimes the ego, when the egos also come up and down, there are very few things, if they are made clear at the beginning, many misunderstandings can be solved. And like I said, any marriage to go on for a long time, it's when people say, oh, it cannot happen, we don't fight, I said, then that marriage is useless.
Yeah, we fight all the time. It happened, and it
should happen.
Yeah, khawa upar mari masala nakhine, life is spice up. It happened. But we never think about being separate. See, that's the thing. My kid says that,
the families are there keeping you together.
That's it.
And like I say, with me and my husband, we complement each other. Mm-hmm. He has his pluses, I have my pluses. Mm-hmm. And when both of us are together, what more you want?
So now the question comes. So family, you started family, you got married and all this time. When did you decide to become a loving mother and a loving wife and quit the job? When did you? What makes you?
No. Actually, see, I'll tell you, Himmat, what happened is, see, when I got married in 91. Fine. Mm-hmm. Both of us young, both of us electrical engineers, both of us working. He was working for ABB. I was working for GEB. We were on top of the world.
Yes.
But you see, behind my smile and behind my confidence and behind everything, there's a lot happening in the background. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, Prashant's mother, she fell sick.
Oh, okay.
Fell sick means she had diabetes, blood pressure. She got a paralytic attack. Mm-hmm. And within 6 months of marriage, she had her right hand, which in the paralytic stroke, it couldn't move.
Right part. Yeah,
and within 1 year, she got a very massive stroke. She couldn't walk or talk. Mm-hmm. So 12 years, she was in that condition. We had to do everything for her.
Okay. So it's a sacrifice for the family.
We took care of her. And what happened was, 91, we got married. She fell sick, 92 completely. Like, she couldn't talk because her right side was affected. That means the brain left side. Mm-hmm. Speech is there. Mm-hmm. So everything, it was total bedridden with diabetes, blood pressure, and she couldn't talk. And then what happened was, we lost our first child in 92.
Very sad to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. And in 93, Prashant lost his father. Mm-hmm. So what happened was, in 2 years, the whole life changed completely.
Yeah, from the top of world, you got a lot of challenges. Yes. Understand.
Yeah. So 12 years we were in this condition. And then what happened was, I wanted children, like we wanted children. So of course we had children. Then I touch wood, we have a girl and a boy. So that is fine. But what happened was, in this, my job, I needed the job. I needed the money. Because we bought an apartment, or a flat, as we say. Now over here we say apartment, but there as a flat. And we wanted everything on one floor. So having everything on one floor, we could not afford to have a house, because usually at that time the duplex system was there. 1 bedroom downstairs and 2 bedrooms upstairs.
Yes.
Having a bedridden mother-in-law at home, we could not afford that.
Yes.
So we bought an apartment. Installments had to be paid. So obviously I had to carry on with my job. We needed, like both of us needed to work. And that's how it continued. And yes, like I said, behind every smile or everything, people have stories in it.
Yeah. That's the main reason, because the thing is this, okay? Thing is this, yeah, it actually clearly shows that your sacrifice for the family. So when did you stop working? When did you stop working?
I now see, coming back to GB, I was still with head office and planning and project department. And then we had this 10 years criteria and everything happening. So from monitoring, when the projects went off, from monitoring cell, I was moved to the generation cell. So I worked in the efficiency department, in the generation department. And that's where, the computers were coming up quite much, 2001, 2002, and we had this, Y2K and all that stuff. And that is when I got in touch with we had this power station meetings. And I then, like I said, I used to call up the power stations and get their reports. And they wanted to know, who is this girl who calls us directly and ask us the report instead of asking anybody else. She's calling me directly, because I was calling the power stations chiefs based on my chief engineer.
Yeah, because you were in headquarters, so you had all the power.
So that is how. Yeah. So, and then in those 10 years criteria, we had to be moved out. So in that 10 years criteria, I was shifted to the Baroda O&M division.
O&M, okay. Again.
So, and there I was given the posting at Tower subdivision. So Tower subdivision, totally from head office, I come to the lowest most office, dealing with the line staff.
Yeah.
Now see, what happens is, all 12, 13 years I worked, I never dealt with the line staff.
Yeah. Very difficult.
But I must tell you, the line staff is so good. And the way they work during the rainy season, I was impressed. Totally.
Yeah, most of the line staff are dedicated. If you respect them,
yes.
Thing is this.
Yes.
I realize one thing: if you respect them, you respect their ability. I mean, I had a very polarized.
Yeah. And then I will tell you what used to happen is, that was the time we had this disconnection drive going on. If you have not paid the dues,
you go there.
You have to go and disconnect. Now what happens is, those big people, they have connections at head office. So even if we go and disconnect, nobody's ready to go and disconnect.
Like MLS farm.
So both ways. See, and I was at Tower subdivision, so we had all those newspapers and all those things there, and big that Karalibag industrial zone area was there, and we used to get the disconnection orders from the head office, that why are you not disconnecting? So I would tell my line staff, chalo, aaj jaake disconnection karne, we have this big list. They said, madam, abhi aap bologe disconnection karne ka, 10 minute mein you will send us back. I tell you, it used to hit me very badly.
I know.
Because see, what happens, my ego was hurt. I go and disconnect. And then, I started to pacify myself. That, okay, I used to tell them, let's go and disconnect. So we used to go, disconnect, come back. By the time we come back, within 10 minutes, we used to get the call from head office to join it back.
Yeah.
Then I would send them again, line staff. They would tell me, देखो मैडम आपने अभी बोला ना 10 मिनट में आप मुझे वापस भेजोगे, go and join it करके. But then I started to tell them 10 मिनट तो बंद रहा.
I know. And did you have ever confrontation with any hot-head big shot guys, and he said, hey, don't, it's like because you were in a field. That's what I want to know as a woman.
No, like I never had that case. But of course, yes, I once or twice, like it did happen that people used to say, like this disconnection thing. When we went, and then we used to get a call from head office saying that go and join. And then I would say, but you asked us to disconnect and now you're asking us to connect. So that means we are doing our work. So 10 minutes or 15 minutes, we did our work.
It's very complicated, because if you look at the culture of India, China, and all it's called a civilized country. not the country who, like, Australia, where somebody, or America, somebody came out and then they spread all these things. Our is in that one, everything is very complicated. Everything is very complicated. Like if you try to do your job 100%, you have to be practical. Somebody say, oh, I don't do corruption, but you can't work if you don't do the corruption in O&M. So you have to be practical sometime. That,
no,
hey,
I haven't done any corruption.
No. That's right. I know. I've been there, but sometimes what happens is this, okay?
Yeah. No,
Because
I
you are
have
a girl,
friends.
nobody
I
even
have
dare
friends.
to offer you the money. Remember this.
No, I have friends who tell me that, Seema, you are in GB.
Make money.
Do you work?
Yeah,
how
but
much
that's
are
a
you earning?
wrong impression. We did work. We did work.
No, then I used to tell them, it is because of guys like us, it is still on.
Yeah.
And
Everybody
then that was
work.
the time we had this checking was going on that time. And as always, because I was Mupat, because I was straightforward, I was always sent for the checkings. Who will go, Seema? But thank God I had those trusted linemen with me who would tell me, Madam, aap idhar dekho, hum dekhte hain. And I really am thankful about that.
So હવે છે ને આપણે journey, we're going to start a journey a little bit further out of. So this is part 1 and part 2 is mixed going on right now. So I think at what point of time you decided to move out of India? I mean,
see, now 2003. See, when I moved to this tower subdivision, 2003 March, 24th March, I decided that I'm going to quit because we finished our last installment of our apartment or the flat, the loan that we had taken.
So it was clear, basically.
Yeah. And 24th March was Tulika's birthday, my daughter's birthday. So I said, Tulika, I'm going to give my resignation. And I gave my resignation. And I decided, okay, I'm going to quit. So that was in 2003. My mother-in-law's condition had started to deteriorate and my children were growing up. And in between, what happened was in 97, my mother had taken Apurva with him. He was just 13, 14 months. And he choked there. He was almost gone, thanks to the doctor who underwent laryngoscopy and all that. Today, Apurva is well and doing good, touch wood. And that's how my parents, they left Gandhidham. They came to Baroda to be staying next to us so that we had some support. See, in times, what we were discussing was, in times, see, what happens is, like they say, when everything is fine, you invite people for lunches or dinner, everybody will come. But when it is your difficult situation, there are very few people. There are very few people who come to you.
They want to stay away from you because they don't want your burden. Remember this. This is where the whole reality, right now at this age, we understand that people, I understand completely because, when you are in a trouble, when you are against the wall, there will be nobody to support you unless some true friends.
Yeah. But then I tell you, I have had these experiences because I have heard all your Vato Na Vada. And like you discussed, ki kon madad karwa avyo to, kewa avi thi, all that. So what I felt was the people whom I thought would come and help, they didn't. But somebody else came. And I'm thankful and grateful for them that those guys came, they helped us, everything went off well. So 2003, March, I quit my job. And then August 2003. And I'll tell you, all these 12 years, my mother-in-law did not have a bed sore.
You took care of her.
Had taken care of her so well.
Understand.
And you can imagine having a sick person at home, it's not easy. Mentally, physically, it is exhausting.
See, let me tell you one thing, stop you there. That is the reason why you are here right now as a successful, I would say, family, as a successful Seema, or, your complete family. We see, everybody know your success story, but they don't know the reason behind it. And kona asirvad, whose good wishes is there, and if you take care of your parent or elderly or anything, it always comes back. That's, it's our culture.
Yeah.
It's always comes back.
But and then what happened was 2003 August she passed away. I'd already quit my job, and I decided ki bas, now it's enough. Mentally, physically, we were exhausted, and that was the time after she passed away we started to think we needed a break, mentally and physically.
Yes.
And Prashant was being poached. See, he had been with ABB for a long time and he was being poached by other companies. And then we were thinking, should we move from Baroda somewhere else? That was going on in our mind. And by then he had been to Finland. That was his home, that was his base. He is into protective system relays. And that was the main office there. And he was there on his business trip.
Yeah.
And he was just talking that, okay, now we are thinking what to do. And then he was told, why do you want to go anywhere? You need a break. Why don't you come here?
Wow. That was the...
And that is how we decided, okay, so I'll tell you in November, and see how life treats you. Prashant had always been going to Sweden, Finland, Switzerland, right from 91, 92. He had also been on trainings on and off. And what I did was, I said, now next time he goes, I'm going to go. So I took out my passport and everything. And see the irony of life, 2003, when my mother-in-law passed away, my passport it got over.
Expired.
Expired. And September, while he was there, he said, Seema, this is what I'm thinking. I've been told, why don't we see? So October, in Tatkal, I got my passport done. And then November end, that is December first week, we went to Finland to have an orientation trip to see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And we went there. It is a nice, quiet town, Vasa. That is the town there. And it was worst of the seasons as per them because, like once it snows and the snow melts off. So October, the snow had already fallen and the snow melts off. It is dark. It is rainy. There's less sunlight. And the HR manager and all those people said, see, Seema, this is the thing. Okay, this is, you have not come in best of times to Finland. This is one of the worst times. So then we said, okay, this is the worst time. It can't get worse than that.
Yeah. So you probably...
And then we decided, okay, chalo, we need a break. And they already had an apartment there, which they showed us. It was facing the sea. Quiet town, 55,000 people town.
Okay.
So you can imagine, a Gamadu.
Yeah.
It is a Gamadu.
Tankara.
Small town.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so that's when we decided, okay, we moved. And now in January, we decided, okay, so 2004 January, we decided to move. Now my children, they were in grade 2 and grade 4. They were going to the local school there in India, Baroda. They went to this Anand Balwadi. It's a good school. And then we thought, okay, the expatriate assignment was for 2 years. So we said, okay, 2 years, we go there. And then I was talking to the school principal and all that. So what do we do? She said, don't worry, Seema, once you come back, we'll take your children back.
Oh, okay.
So we said, okay, fine, because you know how the school system is there in India. It's not easy to get admission and all that.
Yeah, I know.
And to top it all, we are going abroad and then trying to figure out. And then we went to Finland. Now see, moving to Finland 2004, we landed in snow. Never ever we had seen snow in our life. See, in Baroda, you never see snow. And there we went. January 30th, we landed there.
Complete extreme. One is very hot.
Yeah,
one is
totally. Climate, culture, everything different. People, everything different.
They call it a cultural shock. People will never understand though. What is a cultural shock?
Cultural shock. Why baar nathi gaya? From village when you came to Morbi, didn't you go through cultural shock? No, I remember not Morbi, when you went to Vidyanagar.
I went. I had a cultural shock, and in a US cultural shock, I'll tell you the example, which I also write in my novel, that I went to interview one company. I couldn't figure it out how to turn on that water on earth. Think about it. Because the button is underneath, right?
Yeah.
I couldn't figure it out that how to turn that on. So I tried it, if they had a sensor or anything, but then one guy was passing through, he just pressed the button. I said, wow, that was a cultural shock. We didn't know the basic.
It was total cultural shock. And then we went there, fine. That is fine, okay. We go there, climate, cultural, language, everything different. Then we tried to find the schools. Actually, when we went in the orientation trip, they showed us schools, they showed us the house. And in Vasa, there is no English medium school.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah.
Yes. So what happened was there was a Swedish school which had an English department.
Subject, yeah.
And there was a Finnish school which they were trying to have an English department. So it means what happens is the teaching is not in English of all subjects. 1 or 2 subjects.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there is a language school where they will immerse you for, say, 6 months, teach you Finnish, and then you can join the local school. And what we found in Finland was you go to the school next to your home. All schools are same.
Yes, everything. Where you live, that's where you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we were thinking maybe we should put the children into Finnish, like the language immersion school, and then they can join. But then what happened is we were looking at the schools. We met one teacher at the Finnish school, and she said, see, it's a good thing you're going to put them into Finnish school, language immersive. And but what will happen is they'll start to make friends. And then again, after 6 months, you will uproot them and put them into a Finnish school. So what happens? Again, it'll be a challenge for them to adjust. So we said, yeah, that would be tough. So then we said, maybe we just put them into the Swedish school, which had an English department. The teachers could talk in English, like the department English. And few subjects, 1 or 2 subjects would be taught in English. The rest, of course, would be in Swedish. We said, okay, fine. And then we met the school principal and all that, the teachers. And then they told us that, now see, Finnish system, grade 1 starts at the age of 7.
Yeah, I think 7.
And in India, it starts at the age of 6.
6 or...
at the age of 6, it starts.
4 even. I was at 4. Yeah. So.
4, yeah. Because it starts with nursery and all that. So when you talk about grade 1, you are at age 6. So with my kids, the same thing happened. They said, let them join now in grade 2 and 4, but maybe they'll have to repeat next year. So we said, okay, fine. They joined in January. They continued until June. And then the teachers were so impressed because they picked up the language.
Yeah, I think.
And they were good at studies. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they said, no, now we won't keep them back. Let them continue. Otherwise, they'll be frustrated in the class. So fine. So that's how we landed in Finland, which was for 2 years.
Very good. How about the food challenges over there at that time?
We had real challenges.
We'll go to the food later, but like anything, like, did you find the Indian groceries there?
No, in Vasa, there was only one shop, which had mix, like the Chinese and all those groceries. So I'll tell you, I didn't have tuarni dal for, say, 6 months.
That's it.
I was making sambar with moong ki dal. So,
those are the things. Yes, I understand. I completely understand because and
funny thing, I'll tell you, our family is, really vegetarian. You can say, okay, we are half and half, you can say. Now, Prashant is totally vegetarian. Tulika is totally vegetarian, but both of them eat eggs. I can eat anything. And Apurva also can eat anything.
Yeah.
And what happened was, okay, we said, okay, fine. Once we go, we were there. So we decided, okay, at home, I cook vegetarian food. And most of the time, we are vegetarian only. But Apurva likes...
When we go out and, want to experience something, different dishes or something, I mean, I would do the same thing. When we go out,
but like Tulika and Prashant, they are totally vegetarian.
Okay.
They only eat eggs and nothing else. Okay. Not even fish.
Okay.
So what happened is when we used to go in the restaurant, we said, okay, we don't eat meat, right? That's how we say. So then they would ask us, is chicken and fish okay?
Yeah, because
So
when you
don't
say
eat
no meat, means they understand the heartbeat. Very
so
difficult.
chicken and fish is okay. Then we have to say
Still
no.
fish is they consider vegetarian.
Yeah, they do. So then we said, no, we don't eat this, we don't eat that. Okay, fine. And yes, we had difficulty, but what was there? Like we managed.
Yeah.
We learned to manage, and I was cooking at home, and so it was okay.
But you also said that you were somewhere in Malaysia sometime.
Yeah.
You talk about that. So you landed up in Finland, and now how your journey goes all the way from the completely deep down European, not even European, hardcore European country to somewhere in Malaysia.